We spend hours, literally hours, every single day in these digital spaces. But have you ever stopped to think about who actually built them? And maybe more importantly, who owns them? Today, we're going to dig into the very architecture of our online lives and ask a really fundamental question. Who is actually in control of your digital world? It's a feeling I bet we've all had. You pop open an app just for a second and boom, an hour is just gone. You have to wonder, is that an accident? Well, the source material we're looking at today argues it's absolutely by design, and it forces us to ask a tough question. Are these platforms really serving our needs, or are we just serving theirs? And look, this isn't just some technical debate for nerds. It's actually a philosophical one. Our source material really frames this as a choice between two totally different blueprints for the internet. On one side, you've got a model built on corporate exploitation, and on the other, one built on user empowerment. So, first up, let's explore the world we all know best, this centralized network. A great way to think of it is like a walled garden. Yeah, it's beautiful inside, it's super easy to use, but you can't take anything with you when you leave, and the owner gets to make all the rules. Right at the heart of these walled gardens is a business model that our source calls surveillance capitalism. And the core idea is pretty simple, really. The platform's main goal isn't really to connect you with people. It's to turn your clicks, your posts, your personal data, all of it, into raw material for profit. In this model, you aren't the customer. You're the product that's being sold. And to get as much of that raw material as possible, these systems need to keep you glued to the screen. Our source claims they are purposefully engineered to be addictive. Engagement, that's the magic word. They leverage human psychology to keep us scrolling and scrolling, often at the expense of our own mental health and focus. The engine that drives all this engagement? The algorithm. And according to the source material, these systems are anything but neutral. It states that our feeds are controlled by, quote, manipulative algorithms that prioritize sensationalism and outrage. Why? Because that stuff gets a reaction, and a reaction keeps you engaged, which, well, you see the cycle. It drives polarization and creates those filter bubbles we hear so much about. So, who's really calling the shots here? In a centralized model, it's a single corporate board. They have the final say on everything. This creates what our source calls a single point of control, and that can lead to some pretty arbitrary censorship or moderation decisions that, might serve corporate interests a lot more than the communities. All right, so let's just sum up the core problems with this centralized model, according to the source. You've got data exploitation, you've got algorithmic manipulation, arbitrary censorship, and of course, the massive security risk of putting billions of people's data all in one basket. The argument here is that this system is fundamentally broken. Okay, so if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, this brings us to a completely different vision for how the internet could work: the decentralized alternative. The key concept to wrap your head around here is the Fediverse. It's short for Federated Universe. So instead of one giant company owning everything, I want you to imagine thousands of smaller, independent social networks. You might have heard of platforms like Mastodon or a Lemmy that can all communicate with each other. It's literally a network of networks. And you might be asking, how is that even possible? Well, it's done through an open protocol called ActivityPub. The best way to think of it is as a universal language. It's kind of like how email works, right? Someone on Gmail can send a message to someone on Outlook, no problem. ActivityPub does the same thing, but for social platforms. So let's see how this works in practice. Say you post something on your home server, which is called an instance. ActivityPub instantly translates that post, and that allows someone on a completely different instance, maybe one that's all about art or another one just for science, to see your post and interact with it. And just like that, the walls between these platforms just disappear. So, okay, that's the tech side of things, but why does any of this actually matter? Let's dive into how this big shift in architecture, according to our source, puts the power right back into the hands of the user. This new model is really built on two huge pillars. First, you get guaranteed data sovereignty. Your data belongs to you, period. It lives on the server you choose, and you can pack it all up and move anytime you want. And second, democratic governance. Each community gets to set its own transparent rules. This could mean the end of that opaque corporate censorship. But hold on, if you're not selling user data, how do you pay the bills, right? Servers aren't free. Well, the decentralized model runs on what are called ethical alternatives. Funding can come from donations, from memberships, or even direct payments to creators. This completely removes the need for a business model that's built on watching your every move. So, you see, this isn't just some small technical tweak. It is a fundamental rebalancing of power. As the source puts it so well, it's a profound shift in power from corporation to community. So we've looked at the two models, the walled garden on one side and the open universe on the other. Now let's put them side by side for the final verdict, as it's presented in misanalysis. When you see it like this, the choice becomes pretty stark. The source frames the centralized model as one based on exploitation, addiction, and opaque top-down control. And in complete contrast, the decentralized model is presented as one of empowerment, purpose, and transparent freedom. The ultimate conclusion from all the material we've examined today is really clear and direct. Decentralization isn't just some niche little alternative. It's being framed as a vital necessity if we actually want to build a future that values digital freedom and user sovereignty. And that leaves us with one final thought to take away with you. This technology suggests that you really can build your own little corner of the internet with your own rules. So it's worth asking yourself, if you were in charge of your own digital community, your own little social network, what would be your number one rule?